CM 365, all about Carnatic music. As far as music is concerned, Lakshana and Lakshya have always coexisted. And writers of various textbooks actually on music have all opined the fact that the very purpose of bringing out respective treatises is to set at rest the conflicting views or to make a compromise between theory and practice. Now, why should actually there be a conflict between the theory and practice? Science, if you take, can be exact and non-exact. The rules for the exact science are quite fixed and inflexible, and they never actually change from time to time. For example, H2O is water, was water, and will be water all the time, and this can never change at all. But in a non-exact science like music, we see that it is always progressive and the rules are liable to change from time to time in order to suit the prevailing trend and the growing taste. So here we see that the process of the change itself is so dynamic here, in the sense that with every age we see that the Lakshyas change and so do the Lakshanas. And music is not only an art but also an established science. So in this sense, what I mentioned about a non-exact science, where we see that its principles actually keep changing from time to time. And the technique of music of a particular age means and includes the summary of the preceding age, plus the conventions engrafted from time to time upon the original stock by the masses, enabling it to attain an ideal dimly seen in the distance. So the points here, what we have to understand is that when there is a music in a particular age, it cannot just discard what has been said in the past or what it has been practiced in the past. It has to really take into account and assimilate all that has been said in the past. And then also it has to take into consideration the taste of the masses, how the present trend prevails, and based on trying to kind of combine both, only you will be able to see something which will evolve towards making something different for the future. Musicians of a particular age generally we see are stuck under ordinary circumstances to the music of that particular age. Now, in the case of some extraordinary circumstances, occasions arise like this when a new age sets with a new technique. Here, of course, the classic example I could give of these extraordinary circumstances is that of the age of the Trinity, where we see that though Sri Tyagaraja Dikshadhar or Shyama Sastri assimilated all that was already prevalent in the past, they created something absolutely new and extraordinary, and they evolved a new path also, we could say, through their new technique of looking at the ragam, through their looking at the way a composition should be composed, through the way looked at thalam. So everything, though based on what they had already acquired over the years, they actually created an extraordinary age, I would say, in terms of how they looked and perceived music itself. But now in the whole process, we see that what happens is both the technique, the old and the new, struggle for a while, after which the old dies and the new flourishes till something newer comes to take its place. So there is always a struggle between the old and the new, the transition happens. So what is important here is that the struggle between the old and new technique lasts only during this transition period. So after that transition period is over, we see that all the many elements of the old music get discarded and new elements get absorbed into it, and a newer system gets created. And we also see here how Sri Sarangadeva has beautifully explained this concept, which I would like to translate for you and make a mention here. He says that The learned men are of the opinion that the science follows the art and must respect the current practice. If any discrepancy arises between the two, he says the proper procedure is to interpret the science in such a way that it can be reconciled with practice. Thus, we see that as far as music is concerned, Lakshya and Lakshana go hand in hand, and one influences the other naturally, in the sense that the Lakshya influences the Lakshana influences the Lakshana, and this is what makes our music a beautiful art and science. CM 365, all about Carnatic music.